And I think we're big fans of Heat. Are we big fans of Heat?
Well, not this Heat, but
no,
Heat.
I'm not saying Heat. Yeah, Heat the movie, the 1995.
I think it's terrible. It's like Michael Mann's worst movie.
It's no LA Takedown. I'll give it that.
No, it's awful.
No, inferior awful. Remake, ahoy!
It's it's no Righteous Kill. I mean, it's got to be. It's in my personal top 5.
It's incredible.
Always loved it.
Yeah, it is maybe the best cop movie ever made.
It's like that one that defines the genre. It's very. He did a fantastic job, and the performances. I can't think of a movie that's taken 2 stars that big and given them both so much to chew that they're kind of fully rounded entities in themselves. I absolutely loved it. But, and you guys haven't seen this yet, I didn't get on so well with the 4K release.
Ooh. It sounds like you're not the only one as well.
As a preface to this, Michael Mann, the director, he doesn't leave things alone. He's done 2 cuts of Ali. He's done, I think, 3 cuts of Last Temptation of Christ. He's done 4 cuts of Manhunter. He's done 2 cuts of Heat. He does new sound mixes, new color grades. He likes to tinker. The guy likes to tinker. And it's a real problem for me because I like to, defer to the director's intent. But when the director's intent seems to change on a whim, I really struggle. Like he did a director's definitive edition of Heat, and he removed one of my favorite lines out of the movie, and the theatrical cut is yet to surface. And
I think that's the main problem with the tinkering, though, isn't it? It's tinkering with it and removing trace of the original. It's like once a movie is made and put out into the world, you just have to accept that that movie is out in the world, whether it's exactly what you wanted or not. And it's like that's always been one of David Lynch's reasons for never going back to Dune, even though he hates it so much, is because it is what it is. Like it's there. And I think
if you want to tinker, release both versions. We're on 4K now.
Yeah,
it's not like the old days. Yeah,
boy.
You can do it. And Mann doesn't do a new movie. He just removes a line or changes the sound here, and then just changes this slightly. He could easily do both versions, but he tinkers and then he won't give you access. And then he tinkers with the sound, which was an issue on a previous release. And then he tinkers with the color grading. Now, he tinkered with the color grading in 2017 for the Blu-ray, the director's definitive version. He made it very cool and steely blue. And it was a 4K remaster, which is essentially what we have here. It's the same master. But the HDR layer appears to have caused some problems. And your measure of whether or not you find it enjoyable is possibly a little bit subjective, but it is objectively dark and
difficult to enjoy a thing that you can't see.
Yeah, and also if you know the movie, you know that the opening robbery scene was set in the day. It wasn't set at dusk. It wasn't set at just at sunset. It wasn't set in the half gloaming. And so if you're not familiar with the movie, you'll watch it and you'll go, well, it was. But if you're familiar with the movie, you're like, where's my daylight gone? LA just doesn't have any daylight in it all of a sudden.
Hasn't Mann admitted that he's changed the color scheme to better resemble as if he had shot it today rather than back in 95? I'm sure I've read that somewhere. That to me is, tinker away to your heart's content. Take a line out, stick a line in. Whatever. Like you say, give us the choice. But he's done a Friedkin with the French Connection here, hasn't he?
has.
That's what
exactly
it sounds
yeah.
like. And I haven't even seen the 17 version.
He has done a,
and we all know how that ended for Friedkin. He ended up going back and admitting he dropped a right old bollock because he never got Owen Roisman on board, and he came out and said, "What have you done to my film?"
Yeah.
And they backtracked, and Fox released a fixed remastered version that took the blue out. So, it's I reading about this is interesting because, like you say, a lot of people complaining it's unwatchable to the point of I'm watching something, as if I'm wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night. Some people are also saying it looks perfectly fine on their kit. So, there's a lot of subjectivity flying around here, or so it seems. But it's the internet. That's what the internet was made for.
A lot of comments which are like, you can turn HDR off. Yes, 100% you can do that. You can fiddle with these settings.
Oh,
yes,
there's a lot of settings you can change.
But it's like that is not what you are supposed to do. That you shouldn't be changing your settings for every separate movie that you watch. They should be grading it so that the general public, not on super high quality professional editing monitors, can watch it on and enjoy it. Like it looks good to you in your booth, but maybe on
I can't imagine he watched it through though. I can't honestly imagine he sat there and watched the whole thing. I think he just got a feel for how he wanted it to look and went with it earlier on and didn't realize. I mean, I sat there and I couldn't make out Kilmer's Corvette. It's a black Corvette. It's at night, but you just see lights pop up. You don't even. It's just a blob of a car there. There's scenes where there's a scene where Robert De Niro loses someone, and he disappears into like the reeds blowing in the wind. You can't see anything there. He's just looking at like black. It's not. I saw it 3 times at the cinema. These are things that I remember from seeing at the cinema. I mean, it's not the way that I've watched this movie before. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, it's what the director wanted, and it looks cool dark. I think it's just too dark. It's too much. I mean, he's losing something doing it this way. And all of the daytime scenes, I mean, he shows them, you walk up in the demolitions place and it's bright baking sunshine desert. It's just a dull sky. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that it should be that way. Robert De Niro walks through the emergency room and it's like everyone's operating in low lighting. Why would you do that? Why would you be in the police station working cases with the lights dimmed? It's illogical to me that it would be like this, even if he had a certain style he was going for, even if he'd shot the movie in 22 rather than in 95. I still don't think he would have made these decisions because my brain is telling me these environments would not look like that ever.
So on Friday, Disney threw a perfectly good Predator sequel straight out to Disney Plus. They've now released Heat with basically the 5 years ago's lazy HDR grade slapped on the disc with no Dolby Vision or anything else. The cynical amongst us, Kaz, would point out to Disney trying their hardest to almost kill off both the theatrical and the disc-based home entertainment market and force everyone to go down, I don't know, some form of closed streaming service route. I don't know where that came from.
I don't think Disney care, but oddly, I think that if Disney were behind this rather than it was a director-approved HDR grade, then I think Disney would have just done it normal. So I think they're lazy for not giving us Dolby Vision, but who knows? Maybe that wasn't something that Mann wanted, and I'm pretty sure he was never interested in Atmos. There are a lot of directors who are against that kind of tinkering. They could have given us possibly a better release. than this director's intended approved release.
So how's the audio on it, Kaz? Because obviously
It's just the same track.
Infamously great soundtrack.
I mean, it is. Yes, it's a great soundtrack, but it's the same track, and so it is a great soundtrack. I mean, it's
the one we've all got though already.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I mean, they upped it from Dolby True HD to DTS on the 2017 version.
I don't think that's an upping. That's just a different flavor of lossless, isn't it? So
it's a good track. It's a great track. It's a demo track. Fantastic track. There's no Atmos, and the picture's screwed. Other than that, pick it up.
Hey.
It's phenomenal. 10 out of 10 movie for me, and I was really disappointed. And I did force turn HDR off, and it did make it fractionally better. And the detail is phenomenal on this disc. I'm pained to say I'm more than likely to watch it on Blu-ray again in the future, rather than crack out this 4K. To the point where I was gonna watch it with the wife, and I said, we're not watching it like this. Let's not sit through 3 hours of heat in murk.
I'm intrigued because obviously I watch in a projector in an absolute bat cave. I wonder if that will help. Somewhat.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, you should try, because there are clearly some variations where people get along well with it. But the OLED should really knock it out of the park. I shouldn't need to force turn off HDR to get it halfway watchable.
Very true.
And it's just getting more and more. I don't want to blow it out of proportion. It's not like concerning. It's not like but it is getting more prevalent that this sort of stuff is happening on big name releases, where you think like this is something everybody wants and is looking forward to, and has been looking forward to. People who are fans of the movie have wanted this for a long time, and it comes out and it's just kind of off. And this is by no means the first time this has happened.
No.
And it's not just Disney doing it. It seems to be a weird pattern of regrading stuff for the sake of regrading it.
I mean, perhaps that's the point, though. Perhaps that's the trouble. I'm saying trouble in inverted commas, but the trouble with the limitless features of the 4K format. It's enabled people to do stuff that they weren't able to do before, which is fantastic and which makes some movies look amazing, but which often has the knock-on effect of making movies not like they looked before, which in turn can make movies that you're really familiar with look just odd. It's all good and well making Drive look, super neon, which kind of suits the proceedings, but all these things that you can tinker with these days, they're supposed to be enhancements. Some people would just like it the way it was, cleaned up and released in 4K.
So, but that's interesting, isn't it? Because the technical specs of Blu-ray, always were compromised in terms of things like color space and things like that. The whole point of 4K is that it removes those technical limitations that we've had, and yet the minute a release comes out that now looks different to that technically compromised version we've had for a decade, we're moaning it doesn't look like the technically compromised version. Now
bring back VHS.
Now obviously I'm being a little bit glib there.
I know what you're saying.
You're right. You are right.
I know what you're saying.
So it's difficult because suddenly everyone is holding as the pantheon. That 10-year-old Blu-ray is exactly how it should have looked. Well, no one knows.
I'm saying it doesn't look how it looked in the cinema, and that's probably pretty obvious because they didn't have the facilities to show it like this in the cinema.
And again, and all it needs is some smart ass to say, well, Michael Mann didn't want it emblazoned on your local cinema screen with 5,000 lumens coming out kind of thing.
It belies this sort of perpetuated myth that director's intent overrides all. It just doesn't. Once a film is out in the world to be consumed by the people who are watching it or enjoying it, critiquing it, whatever, it then takes on a life of its own. And
Exactly.
the way that people enjoy a film is the way that they enjoy the film. It's not, it doesn't necessarily matter that, okay, you know, the director wanted it a bit bluer, or, you know, he wanted the sound mix a bit mumblier. Like, which director wants that? Michael Mann, apparently. But it's just another I won't say a nail in the coffin for director's intent, because there's a lot to be said for it, and it does matter to a
They've got to
certain
draw a
extent.
line. They've got to
But
draw a line.
you have to draw a line, and it's, you know, I'm sure you'd find many people saying, like, thank God Star Wars is out of the hands of George Lucas for precisely that reason. You know, his intent actively damages the thing that he made, and it sounds similar or along similar lines with Michael Mann and his.
I think a professional calibrator working on this would have done a better job, independent of Mann, at making it look impressive but authentic. I think
yeah, I mean, you're right. It's just, it is another a shame that it's another release that appears to have technical problems, which this format was supposed to eradicate. It was supposed to be the pinnacle of quality, and all it seems to be doing is throwing up error after error after. Granted, the world has moved on, and we're still, you know, we're still living in the age of a pandemic. Supply chains are not what they used to be. There's a whole host of other global problems that might be affecting things like QC on, you know, our very nerdist and niche hobby. But at the end of the day, you know, you only have to pick almost any thread you like in any forum about a big release, and someone will say, I'm not going to pre-order because I'm not going to take a risk that it's going to have a recall.
Well,
that's where we've got to.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened here with me and Heat, because I desperately want it to be good. You know,
I really did. Yeah,
and I was always going to wait. I was always going to wait to see what happened with it, especially after some other films that I've been really looking forward to having their own problems. You know. You get burned once, and it's like, no, I'm not. Now I'm going to wait. Before you would have had my money, but now I'm going to wait.